Hello everyone, on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather daily to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today we have the great pleasure of being joined by Andrea Garcia, Andrea Garcia is a vibrational therapist and consultant. But before starting with Andrea, we want to remind you that if you want to collaborate with the Mindalia mission, you can just like this video, subscribe to our channel, you can share with someone that you know that can benefit of the content that we're going to be talking here today. You can also participate in this program through our chat, where you can enter just a hello or your questions that you might have to our guest today, Andrea Garcia. We also want to invite you to collaborate with Mindalia, visiting, liking, and subscribing to our main channels, Mindalia Televisión in Spanish and Mindalia Televisão in Portuguese. Let's not delay this any further, and we have the great pleasure of saying to Andrea, welcome to Mindalia. Andrea, how are you today? The screen is yours.
Hello, Mirna. Hello, everybody. I'm very glad, very thankful for being here, sharing this with everybody. First of all, Mirna, I want to tell you that I have some kind of echo. I don't know if it's okay. I'm listening twice.
Okay, we don't hear an echo here, but probably if you have another device that is connected to this one, because where are you getting the signal from?
Okay. So anyway, I am going to go on talking. Yes, I think it's going to be okay. So, well, here I am. I'm from Argentina, like Mirna said, and I am a vibrational consultant. I have been working in this way for many years, for about 25 years. And well, the axis of my work is the channeling, because I am an angels channeler and a masters and guides channeler since I was a child. That's a long story. Maybe another day we can share all this in with more abundance. But the point today is what happens with these evasion mechanisms that appear when we are trying to develop our spirituality in our everyday life. I want, first of all, to tell you that what I'm going to tell you is what I have been receiving through these channelings and what I have been seeing in each of the appointments that I have been sharing with other people. So let's take a look at all this situation in a more extended way, to try to understand what happens when we try to be spiritual, although we have all kind of difficulties and situations in our everyday life that asks us to pay attention to determined situations that have to do with human challenges, let us say, okay? And well, how can we do with these two aspects that we try to integrate, that we try to merge in some way? And that's the point. That's the theme of this this space through Mindalia. Well, first of all, let's start talking in a very natural way about spirituality. Tell me, or tell yourself, because I'm not going to be able to listen to you now, but just think about that word and try to say to yourselves, what does spirituality mean for you? Just try to see if you are trying to give some space in your everyday routine. If you try to read about this, to listen about this, if you have some kind of special decision to give your spirituality a very special place in your day, and not just try to know what that means for you when you're trying to be more connected with your mental everyday routines. Spirituality um, is our nature, but although it's our nature, there's one special reason for which we are here. We are incarnated now, and we have been incarnating in many, many, several thousands of different past lives. Okay? But why is it that we came here, and why is it that we have been coming here for so many, many times? And the purpose is just integration. um, I've noticed that this is one of the words the guides use most in their channelings. It's one of the words that angels try more and more to invite us to take conscious and to give space in our everyday life. But why is this in this way? Because it's very natural. We are here. We are. Oh well, here we are again. We're sorry for this inconvenience, but we are going to go on. I don't know where I was when we stopped talking. When I stopped talking, but I think we were talking about spirituality and what that means for us. And this challenge, this very important challenge about noticing what is happening when we try to be spiritual, although we have different kinds of problems, different types of problems in our everyday life. Today, for example, there's an example about that. We had a little problem to solve, so we have to try to conserve our axis while we try to do with that situation of difficulty. We have to go across. Now, uh, as we are incarnated as human beings, it's very natural for us to try um, to evade difficulties or situations where we get afraid, maybe where we don't know how to what to do or how to solve something that we have to we have as a problem, for example, in with relations, with situations of our work, etc. Okay, it's very natural for us to try to avoid those situations where we get frightened. And that's how we call, specifically in therapy, evasion mechanisms that may start to activate when we are feeling that something is dangerous in a very unconscious way. Of course, this is just coming from our unconscious selves. Okay, so maybe there's something that is very difficult for us, and we don't know how to do with that, and we try naturally to avoid it. And there's a mechanism that starts. And the most common thing that we find in these situations is that our intention of being spiritual, our decision of being vibrating in a very high way, try to evade those situations and try to take distance and put some limits to those people or those situations, those areas, those scenarios in our life that make us tremble. We used to use this phrase, evasion mechanisms, to talk about things that may have to do with our emotions. It's a very psychological phrase, isn't it? But anyway, although we used to use that phrase in that kind of situations, there's also a way to try to avoid, and that is inspired from our very good intention of trying to be spiritual. And well, this is the point where we need to stop and start looking, and in a very deep and detailed way. There's a story I want to share with you that I think it's a very good example of what we are talking about. Let me tell you this story. Well, let us say that there was a man somewhere that wanted to give some depth, to his life. Okay, and he started reading books of spirituality, going to workshops. He started meditating. He started doing whatever he could do about this. And one day he decided to go further, and he decided to really to live a very spiritual life, a more spiritual life. And somebody told him that there was a master, there was a very special person living at the top of a mountain alone, and that he was very enlightened. So this man decided to go to that mountain, to climb that mountain to find this master. And he climbed days and days, decided to enlighten himself, finding this great master. And when he got at the top of the hill, he found the master. And he went up to him and he told him, "Here I am, I want to be your follower. Please tell me what is it that I need to know right now. Give me the information I need to be enlightened." So this master gave him some information, some thoughts. Okay, he told him something. This man said, "Okay, thank you. That's all I need. And now I ask you, please, I want to stay here with you because I feel with what you gave me that I finally got enlightened. And I feel that this is the space for me. I want to be living here with you." And the master said, "No, no, 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 you have to go back to your place, to your town, your city, your family. You have to go back and take what I gave you and share it with others. And that man said, no, please let me stay here with you. If other people need information, they can come and visit you and go for their own spirituality path. I want to stay here. And the master insisted that he had to go back because information was to be shared. And light was not for him or for us. It's not for each of us. It's just to be shared. And that enlightenment, and this is the part, my favorite part, enlightenment comes once I integrate what I received with what I am living in my place, in my here on earth, in my family, in my work, in my with my relatives, wherever, because the real enlightenment comes when I integrate. Of course, if we go on with the story, the man had to go back. And this is really very clear for me to try to express these details about what is our objective, what is what is the point that we decided to go for. And it's not just being spirituals. It's about being humans and spirituals. And when talking about these evasion mechanisms, we first have to know that this is very natural. Why? Because we are incarnated. And the first point here is to be lovely with this detail that we are here and we are not there. We are not living without forms. We are between forms. And this is very important for us because if we try to avoid forms, if we try to avoid all what happens to us while we are trying to be human, just humans, we will be trying to evade our evasion mechanisms. This seems to be like a joke because sometimes we don't notice that we're trying to use the same currency. There's an evasion mechanism that appears. Let us say, for example, let's put an example to see it in a very clear way. I have to go to my office, and I hate going to my office. I don't agree with my partners. I hate my boss. I get really very, very upset about going there. But I think, well, okay, I have to go. I have to smile. I have to go on. I have to go to my work. But I don't want to go. And I know that I don't want to go. And suddenly I have a little accident, let us say. Don't make it so tremendous, so dramatical. I had a little accident with my car, okay? And I can say, well, why did I have this accident? Why is this happening to me? Why is it that I have to go to the hospital instead of going to the office? And I can say to myself, okay, but did you want to go to the office? No. So why did you try to avoid going to the office in this unconscious way? Why in this way? So here we can see a simple example about an evasion mechanism. But when I am trying to to really give importance to my spirituality, and I try to be better, or to go on learning about my spiritual being. Maybe I can say to myself, oh no, I have to love my job. I have to go there, although I don't like that place. um, I have to try to not, I don't have to be avoiding what I don't like to do. So that's the moment when I try to avoid my mechanism, and I'm using the same currency as the guides say, and I try not to feel what I am feeling, just because I think it's not a proper emotion. So, what about being spirituals when we are trying to be with those perfect, trying to be the more perfect we can, and we don't listen to ourselves through those evasion mechanisms? Because which part was the one that started talking about that mechanism? Which is the part that started with that evasion mechanism? Well, the part that started with it was my unconsciousness. Was that part of me that I don't use to listen. So if I'm not used to listen to this part, and I try this not to happen, I'm doing that again and again and again. So, first of all, let's be friends of our human nature. Let's start trying to integrate what is happening to me and what I am feeling and what I am noticing that I need to decide, so that my spiritual being can feel comfortable in my human being. Because no of them, our human nature is not less than our spiritual nature. We're just vibrating in a different way, but not in a lower way. That's why it's a great learning for spiritual people to pay attention to this ego that sometimes appears when we try to vibrate in a higher way, and we are seeing things that are not in vibrating in the same way, and we try to take distance. Why distance? If all the masters along the history of our earth had came to be in the middle of all the difficulties and give light and give information to those in those places, in those sceneries where we really need to give light. It's very natural for us to try to avoid and try to do less. And it's very important to ask, and I invite you now to ask yourselves, in which way or in which aspect do you feel you're not integrating at all? Something, maybe some emotion, some relation, because our evasion mechanisms are marvelous teachers for us. That's why I always ask not to be hurrying up to avoid those reactions, because they can teach us a lot. You know that we act here on earth through mirroring in the other. And if we start to see in the other, if we start to see in what is happening to us, what is it that awakes as a feeling inside of us, we will be able to integrate and to feel empowered to go on spiritually and loving to be humans. There's something very, very nice that when I heard for the first time when I was, I was a teenager, maybe in one of those situations of channeling. Not teenager, a little older. I was very young, about 20 maybe. Once, when I was talking with angels, the angels told me that they were just, we were talking as if we were joking a little. And they smiled and they said, but you don't remember that every time you come back here, you want to go back immediately. Every time you're on earth, you're thinking, oh, once I get out from here, because this is a mess, I want to go to heaven. And once you get here, you want to go back. And it's incredible, isn't it? And why? Because we are fascinated about the possibility of integration. Because the action takes here, not there. And angels, to talk about angels, just because we are talking now about angels and angels' messages. Angels also used to say that they admire our courage, and that they are, and that we think that we are less than them, and that they vibrate in a higher way we do. And it's just as if we could say it's the opposite, but not because they vibrate in a lower way. It's just because they say that they can't have this possibility of choosing. And they admire that we have the possibility of choosing, and each time we can choose, we choose to go back, and we choose to go through difficult situations. And angels admire us because of that. And we used to think that it's otherwise, don't we? We used to think that it's exactly the opposite situation. So when we get dispirited, when we once we think we are in the middle of a mess, whatever it is about, just remember that magical word, integration. Let me tell you another thing. My guides invited me some years ago to make a lot of notes of banners, papers, write down in papers the word integration. And they said, put it in many places in your house so that you can read that word the most times you can. I don't know if I'm saying it in a proper way. Because when you read the word, you will remember that is the purpose. You think you came here to just for evolution purpose. Yes, okay, that's true. But how can you do it? integrating. Integration is a very human word that is uh, identical to the purpose. If we try to give a purpose uh, through a human word, you know that when talking with higher dimensions, they don't use words, of course, they don't need letters, and the information is revealed through energy. And that's why they used to help us through specific words that mean what they want to transmit. Because, of course, our guides, angels, and so on don't need words, and there are no words for this information. So, what about integration? What about saying, here I am? Oh, here I have a problem. Well, let me see. What is it that I need to integrate? And this is why the topic of this workshop was evasion mechanisms, because it's just the way I try to avoid noticing what is it that I was invited to see through that situation. So let's be spirituals in a more comfortable way, trying to be humans and being on our axis, trying to be present, just to notice the different kinds of vibrations that appear in ourselves at specific contacts with others. Okay. Okay. Yes.
Okay, Andrea, thank you so much for sharing with us such valuable information. And we're just going to go ahead and start a few questions if that's okay with you.
Very, very
Sounds
well.
good?
Yes.
Okay. So the first question is, according to your experience, what is happening with the traditional religious systems that are losing more and more people while different spiritual currents are actually increasing? People are leaning towards discovering, towards finding and getting to know disciplines that are probably less strict, less structured. What do you think that is happening?
Well, this is a very natural way energy is moving on, because, with all respect, of course, to all religions and all different ideas about that, I think that just as we were saying, integration is now the basic thing, and if we try to go on trying to build theories, groups of identification, trying to be part. If I try to say a person, for example, that's my idea, my personal idea, of course, but if I try to tell somebody that is not feeling well, that is really living a very difficult part of his life, and I say, come, because I'll show you the way. What I am telling him in some way is that the way is in this way. If you come, you'll be better. If not, I'm not so sure. And this is very sensitive information. And I think that it's time to integrate ourselves and to be empowered. And we are learning to be empowered, just finding our power through difficulties. That's why it's very important um, to decide to be. I used to use this phrase when talking in my personal appointments with clients and consultators. I used to say, just try to start being your friend. Just start from there. Something is going wrong. Okay, just don't worry. You're going to do it. I can help you, but you are the one that is going to be here for you. And I can help you find in yourself, not outside.
Thank you
Mm-hmm.
so much, Andrea. Do you think that maybe it's something related with the fact that we are in an era in which we require like responsibility? We require to take things in our own hands, and we're no longer just exposed to being whatever we are told to be, right?
Yes, of course, sure. I'm sure of that. That's why all this invites us to be in perspective and to learn from our conscious and unconscious sides. You know that, for example, well, I don't want to go to another topic, but when we try to look at our unconscious side, we also find a lot of information about our genealogy system, our ancestors. There's a reason why I am here, and um, I have chosen this mother and this father and this perfect combination. And by choosing my parents, I have chosen all my family tree, and all that information, that genealogy information, has to do with my unconscious too. So when I try to take distance from something that is going, that may be very difficult for me, maybe I'm not regarding that that is happening inside of me in the same way. As the law says, as it is above, it is inside. So I think that that problem is there over there. So I have to put some distance to somebody, and that person is attracting something that is over there in my unconscious world. So I can't take distance from myself. If I try to get out from my connection within myself, that is going to happen again, but not because the universe didn't understood that I don't want any more people like that person, for example. That's not because the universe is against me. That's because there's something that I'm not integrating. I go on with that word inside of me. And well, that's why everything that has to do with evasion mechanisms are very well received when we are trying to go through our human life
It's
during our.
actually it's actually funny that you say integrating, and you emphasize the fact like, oh my god, I'm repeating the word. And I actually think that it's never enough, because we keep learning and learning and learning, and what we are failing at probably is in actually integrating. So yes, you're welcome to say it as many times as you want, because it's still not gonna be enough, Andrea.
Yes,
I want
okay.
to let's go ahead and do another question that we have here.
Yes, of course.
Is spirituality in any way related to our well-being and to our health condition? How have you seen people around you, the people that go to your consultations? What's the relationship between a harmonious spiritual life and the way our physical body is feeling?
Yes, well, there's a very straight relation because health is about peace, just like that. Health is about peace. That means that if I am in peace, if I feel that I'm not fighting or trying to be what I am not or go to somewhere I can't reach, and if I'm not losing energy um, in being who I am not, my health will improve clearly. When we talk about health, Although we talk about all topics about health, not only because of our body, we can also talk about emotional health, but it's very common to think about our body automatically. We are trying to be in a good state of health, and the point is that our body, in the same way that we work with that in biodecoding, um, the our body, it tries to show us the same as we were talking about a few minutes ago. Our body tries to show us what we are not trying to see. We are talking about evasion mechanisms. When I try not to see something, my body says, hey, can I help you? Look, okay? So that's when my organs or systems start to show me that there's something going wrong. And well, one of the points that is very usual in these situations is that again, we try to solve it through avoiding. Oh, please, I have to go to the doctor so that I don't have this situation anymore. So, health is a marvelous aspect of our inner conversation, inner relation, because it shows us if we are really being in touch with ourselves, and if we are in peace, if we are telling us what we need, and if we are listening to what we are saying and taking it into account.
Thank you so much, Andrea. We have two more questions that we're gonna be doing before we close
Okay.
this space. The
Yes.
the first one I have is actually it's a combination of two questions, and it's regarding the people that come to see you, the people that you help with your practice. What are we or they? We're talking about humankind, more scared about, and what are we looking for? So what's that thing that we're after?
Well, that thing that we are after is love. Definitely love, but especially tender love, the love of our partner, a couple. That's the classic. And it's wherever I go, people from all the ages, uh, old people, let us say, people of 80. I have a consultant, for example, that is a woman of 83, I think, that comes uh, twice a month. And she always talks about waiting for her love. She wants to fall in love. And love is the most special point for us. Maybe we are not having a good time financially. Maybe we have some problems with health. Health, of course, is one of the important topics. But people used to come to ask about health when they are feeling sick, ill, when something is happening, not because they want to know what to do for their health. That's not so common. But yes, about love.
They consult they ask about their health when it's gone.
Yes.
It's funny how we never take care of it when it's here. The very
Yes.
last question today, Andrea, how can we learn to see the difference between the voice of the mind of the ego and the voice of our higher self? It's so confusing because it's that inner dialogue. It's like tweedledee and tweedledum all day, like right, left, right, left. How, according to your experience, or what do you personally use to find out who's that one talking, saying do this or don't do it?
Well, that's a beautiful question. There's one thing that I suggest to pay attention to, and it's the judgment. when the voice comes from our inner side, when our enlightened being is talking, there's no judgment. When it comes from our mind, we used to say this was not good. You must have done this other thing. Maybe something wrong will happen if you do that. You know, the inner voice only knows about love. And this seems to be very poetic, but it's true. The inner voice just shows you something, but not for you to be aware, because maybe that is going to be wrong, because the inner voice doesn't know about bad or good, well done, bad done. So when we listen to an inner voice that says, for example, let me say, Mirna, that was not a good action from you. That was not your inner voice. Because it was not from love. And that's the point. Or if that voice, for example, says, oh, pay attention, maybe that's a dangerous situation. Wow, no, that didn't come from your inner voice, because danger doesn't exist. If everything is light, what is dangerous? Nothing. So it was not your angel, it was not your real, your soul, nothing like that.
Thank you again, Andrea.
Thank you.
So basically, we're gonna find out the difference. Where there is judgment and where there is fear, that's not your higher self, it's the mind. The mind, to me, is the
Yes.
software that keeps us safe. You know, that the software for preservation of the physical body. Andrea, again, thank you for allowing the Mindalia TV cameras being a channel for your ideas, for your wisdom. We truly share. Um, we have in very high value the fact that you agreed to be with us to do this. This is not our native language, as everybody can
Yes.
tell. We're just
Sorry
doing.
for the mistakes.
No, we're doing our best. We're doing this because we do it mainly in Spanish, but we want to share as much as possible. As I said earlier, we have this platform. We have our mothership, which is Mindalia Televisión in Spanish, and we have Mindalia Televisao. We want to reach as much people as possible, and that is why we do what we do. Andrea, one last word for the people that is seeing you out there.
Well, just thank you. Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. It's my fourth time in Mindalia, but it's the first time in English. All the other three were in Spanish. And I love Mindalia. Is like my house. I feel at home here. And well, whoever wants to get in touch, please, you can write. Can I give my email?
Yes,
Would
of
you let
course.
me?
Where can we find you?
Okay, well, you can write me at info@andreagarcia.online. Well, on the nets, you can find me as Andrea Garcia Consultoría Vibracional. I'll write it down then as at the chat
Thank you
so
again.
that you can have it. Okay, thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Andrea. Once again, to you that are right behind the camera seeing us, thank you for being here. Remember liking, subscribing not only this channel, but Mindalia Televisión in Spanish and Mindalia Televisao in Portuguese. We are sending you a very big hug, and until next time, bye bye.